Her bare feet pressed against the cool cushion of the lounge chair, one hand resting over. The small rise of her belly. 6 weeks. 2 heartbeats. Still growing. She had planned it all. The perfect dinner. His favorite wine. A small gift box with the sonogram tucked between silk cufflinks. Adrian loved hidden meanings. He would have cried, kissed her, made promises. But all that shattered the moment Savannah knocked. On her door. Welcome to Cedar Light Love Stories, where every tale glows with warmth, passion, and the magic of true connection. Dive into heart-touching stories that inspire love, heal souls, and spark hope in every listener. If you believe in the beauty of romance and the power of storytelling, this is your home. Don't just listen, be part of the journey. Like, subscribe, and share the love today. Your next favorite story begins here. I'm sorry, Senora, she'd whispered, eyes rimmed with fear. But I thought you should. No, I saw your husband. With someone. Paisley had felt the floor shift under her. With who? Savannah hesitated. With a man. Now, even the ocean couldn't drown the ache in her chest. The same ocean Adrian had. Stood by weeks ago, kissing her forehead, whispering about forever. The sliding door creaked. She didn't turn. Pious, Adrian said, voice low, casual. You disappeared after dinner. She slowly rose. No smile, no softness, just steel behind her calm. We need to talk. He exhaled, loosening the top button of his shirt. Can it wait? I've had the longest. She cut in. No, it can't. From her pocket, she pulled the sonogram photo. 2 tiny lives swirled in black and white. She placed it on the small table between them. Adrian's eyes dropped. He blinked. Is this? I'm pregnant, she said. With twins. His gaze shot up. Paisley, are you serious? I was going to tell you differently. Something meaningful. But then Savannah came to me. He stiffened. What do you mean? She saw you, Paisley said quietly. With Miguel. Silence. Adrian slowly sat, the chair creaking under him. Paisley, she stepped back. No lies. Not now. Not when I was preparing to give you the most beautiful news of our lives. His lips parted. Nothing came out. His face said it all. Shame, maybe guilt. No denial. Was I ever enough? She asked. He looked wrecked. You were everything. But something in me, I didn't know how to. Stop. I didn't even mean to. Stop. She turned away, both arms cradling her belly as if shielding the twins from him. I'm leaving. He blinked fast, like he'd been slapped. Paisley, don't make this decision in anger. This isn't anger, she said, her voice dry. It's clarity. He stood, reaching for her hand. She pulled it away. I loved you, she whispered, but I love them more. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, and just like that, the future they'd imagined, family, Christmas mornings, bedtime, stories began to disappear. Paisley walked past him, her steps slow but steady. Inside the house, the air felt colder. Her world wasn't ending. It was changing. The cab door creaked as it opened, and red dust swept in with the breeze. Paisley stepped out, her sandals touching ground that was no longer curated or swept. This wasn't the polished marble of Sao Conrado. This was Rio Preto, quiet, sun-warmed, and unfamiliar. Her suitcase wobbled as she pulled it behind her. The villa stood ahead, old vine, wrapped and worn in places. It had once belonged to her late aunt, a woman who'd believed in lemon trees, love letters, and listening to your gut. The cracked fountain in the front courtyard hadn't worked in years, but to Paisley, it whispered something else. You can start over. Savannah climbed out behind her, arms full of boxes and grocery bags. Still want to do this? She asked gently. Paisley nodded. I already did. Inside, the house smelled of cedarwood and dust. The shutters creaked when opened, and the kitchen faucet sputtered before it obeyed. The bedroom floors had lost their polish, and the garden out back was a tangled mess. But it was theirs, not in title, maybe, but in intention. They spent the first night eating bread and cheese on the floor, unpacking only the essentials. Savannah brought blankets, set up candles, and lit incense. They didn't speak. Much. They didn't have to. By morning, Paisley was barefoot in the kitchen, boiling water for tea, when she felt the first kick, a soft flutter. A reminder life was still happening, even here. Savannah walked in moments later, wiping her hands on a towel. "I'm thinking of painting the nursery yellow," Paisley said. Savannah looked up, surprised. "Yellow. It feels hopeful." They got to work. Mornings were for walks to the town market. Afternoons were spent clearing out weeds, brushing off old furniture, and choosing paint swatches from the hardware shop 3 streets down. They hung a clothesline across the backyard, letting white linens flap in the breeze. Every evening, Savannah cooked something that smelled like memory: coconut rice, grilled plantains, caramelized onions. And every evening, they ate on the porch under a cheap mosquito net, listening to the quiet hum of rural Brazil. Their bond grew without words. Savannah had been a maid in Paisley's life, but out here that title vanished. They were simply two women rebuilding from different ruins. And then came Joaquim. It started with a dog. Savannah's rescue, a mutt named Pingo, had sliced his paw on broken glass near the garden. They rushed to the clinic, and that's where they found him: broad shoulders, a faded denim shirt, and eyes that felt warm even behind glasses. "Easy, Pingo," he murmured as he kneeled beside the whimpering dog. Paisley stood a few steps back, arms crossed. Her belly was more visible now, rounded, prominent. She felt exposed in a way she hadn't expected. "You the mom?" Joaquim asked, glancing up. She blinked. "Of the dog?" He grinned. "Well, someone brought him in with urgency and love. That usually counts." She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Let's call it shared custody." He worked quickly and gently, stitching Pingo's paw with a steadiness that impressed her. He didn't ask questions, didn't comment on her stomach, just did his job. When it was done, he stood, wiped his hands, and looked at her again. "I walk by your villa every week. Been abandoned for years. Glad to see life coming back. Into it. It's a work in progress," she said. "Aren't we all?" He held her gaze for a beat longer, then nodded. "You'll be okay here." Something about the way he said it, like it wasn't a question but a promise, made her stomach flutter in a different way. That night, Savannah teased her. "He didn't blink once when you stood next to him." "I wasn't checking," Paisley said, stirring tea. "But you noticed." She smiled. "Maybe." Joaquim didn't come around often, but when he did, he never came empty-handed. Sometimes it was a sack of mangoes from his backyard, sometimes a packet of herbal tea he swore helped with swelling. Once, it was a bag of nails and a wooden board to fix the nursery door that wouldn't close properly. "I pass by anyway," he always said. "Doesn't cost me anything to help." But Paisley knew better. Men like him didn't linger unless something kept them coming. Back, they started walking together. First, just down the dirt road to the market, then through the town square. Later, around the small lake that mirrored the sky at dusk. Joaquim was never in a rush. He walked like someone who believed every moment held something worth. Noticing, Paisley talked sparingly. She never mentioned Adrian, never explained how she landed here with a belly full of life and a past she'd rather forget. But Joaquim never pushed. One afternoon, as they strolled past a row of jacaranda trees in bloom, he broke the silence. "Most people look tired when they walk, but not you." She raised an eyebrow. "And how do I look?" "Like you're searching." That stopped her. He didn't elaborate, just kept walking, hands tucked into his pockets. She caught up beside him. "And what makes you think I haven't already found what I was looking for?" He glanced over, his eyes gentle. "Because you still flinch when the wind surprises you." They kept walking. Later that evening, She stood in the kitchen, shelling beans while Savannah boiled water. He said, "I flinch when the wind surprises me," she murmured. Savannah looked up. That man sees too much. Paisley didn't disagree. The next time Joaquin came by, it was with a sketchbook. "I thought you might want to draw names," he said. "For the babies? For the dreams." They sat on the back steps, the twins kicking softly inside her. He handed her a pencil and pointed to a blank page. "Write whatever comes," he said. She hesitated, then began, "Amora, Selena, peace, warmth." Starting again. When she paused, he added one word beneath hers, "safe." She looked at him. "Are you always this patient with people?" He shrugged. "Only the ones trying to hold themselves together." The first time he touched her, it wasn't planned. They had been walking back from the lake when her ankle twisted slightly on the uneven ground. She reached for balance, and he steadied her. His hand held her waist just a moment too long. She didn't move. Neither did he. Then, slowly, his hand slid to her back, just above the curve of her belly. She exhaled. "I don't know what you've been through," he said quietly, "but I see the way you hold your stomach. You love them already. That's rare." Her eyes watered. He didn't kiss her then. He didn't have to. His touch had already spoken. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling fan. Her life had broken open, but something new was starting to grow in the cracks. The stars above Rio Preto didn't sparkle like the city lights of Sao Conrado. They glowed, quieter, like secrets whispered across the night sky. Paisley sat on the edge of the porch, the sound of cicadas pulsing in the distance. Joaquin stood a few feet away, barefoot, his shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. Neither of them said anything. The air wasn't tense, it was expectant. She turned to him. "Why do you keep showing up?" He walked closer. "Because I want to. Even though I carry someone else's children?" His voice didn't waver. "Especially because you carry someone else's children." She studied him. "And what if I can't give you the kind of beginning most people expect?" "I'm not looking for most people's beginning." The quiet stretched again, but this time it wrapped around them like a thread. He took a step forward, holding out his hand, not demanding, just offering. She placed her hand in his. He pulled her to her feet, his eyes never leaving hers. Slowly, he brought her hand to his chest, resting it over his heartbeat. And then he leaned in, not sudden, not greedy, just close enough for her to feel the warmth of his breath. When their lips met, it wasn't fireworks. It was grounding. It was a yes she hadn't known she'd been waiting to give. Her fingers slipped into the folds of his shirt. He held her face with a care that undid her. The kiss deepened, not rushed, not polite. It grew like rain that had waited months to fall. He pulled back, his forehead resting against hers. "Come inside," he whispered. She didn't answer, just led him by the hand. Inside her bedroom, she lit the single candle on the dresser. Its soft glow danced on the white sheets. Her body had changed, rounder, heavier in places, unfamiliar. But when he touched her waist, he didn't flinch. His hands traced the curve of her belly. His thumbs brushed along the side of her ribs. Her shirt slid off easily. "You don't have to look away," she said quietly. "I wasn't planning to." He kissed down her neck, across her collarbone, and lower, when his lips reached the soft swell below her navel. He paused. "You're beautiful here," he murmured, pressing his mouth gently against the skin. She gasped, not from the sensation, but from feeling seen. His clothes came off next. No performance. No pretense. Just him, solid, warm, human. When he laid her back, he moved as if each part of her was sacred. His mouth traveled down her chest, tasting, lingering. She arched into him, breath catching as his fingers found her slowly, carefully. She reached for him, her touch hungry now. And when he entered her, she wept, not from pain, but from being wanted, from being chosen in her fullest, rawest form. They moved together in rhythm, nothing forced, nothing held back. Her legs wrapped around his waist, her hands gripped his shoulders, and her voice broke. with every moan that left her lips. He kissed her temple, her jaw, her throat, and whispered her name like it was a vow. When the pleasure came, it came in waves, deep, curling, endless. She cried out, chest trembling, heart wide open. After, they stayed tangled in the sheets, his fingers tracing circles along her hip. "You didn't fix me," she whispered. "I never wanted to," he said. "I just wanted to see you." And in that quiet, flickering room, with candlelight painting shadows on the wall, Paisley let go of the last pieces of what used to be. She had not just survived, she had returned to herself. The morning was unremarkable. A thin mist clung to the garden, and the laundry line hung. Still, Paisley was in the kitchen slicing bananas for the oatmeal when she noticed the envelope by the door. No stamp, no logo, just her name. She stared at it for a long time before picking it up. The handwriting stopped her cold. Slanted, neat, unmistakably Adrian's. Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. 3 pages, ink smudged in parts, folded with precision. "Paisley, I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not even sure I deserve to be heard. But silence between us feels like death. I've destroyed something I once called sacred, and now I wake up every morning realizing what I lost." Asterisk, she read every word, every carefully chosen sentence. He spoke of regret, of shame, of confusion he'd buried for years. He admitted it all, his selfishness, his cowardice, his failure to be honest. There's no excuse, but there is a reason. One I wasn't brave enough to face until I saw your back walk away. I miss you. I miss what we were. But mostly, I want to meet them. My children. I want to try, even if from a distance. There was no anger in the letter, no manipulation, only sorrow and a soft request. Paisley folded the paper and set it on the table. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She simply stood, staring out the window at the garden. That's how Joaquin found her. He stepped in, wiping dust from his hands, and saw her expression before he saw the envelope. He didn't ask. He just walked over and placed a hand on her lower back. Still, she said nothing. He didn't press. Minutes passed. The oatmeal thickened. The birds grew louder outside. Finally, she whispered, "What would you do?" He rested his chin on her shoulder. "I'd ask myself what kind of peace I want my children to grow up around." Her breath hitched. "He's their father," she said. "Yes, but he's not mine anymore." "No," Joaquin said gently, "he isn't." She turned toward him, eyes shining but dry. "I don't hate him. I just don't need to bring him forward with me." He nodded. "Then you've already decided." She looked down at her belly. The twins shifted gently. Later that afternoon, she placed a photo inside an envelope. No words, no explanation, just the image of 2 bassinets by the window, sunlight casting over Amora and Selena, sleeping side by side. She sealed it and left it by the mailbox. No return address, no invitation, just closure. The pain came slowly at first, a dull tightening in her lower back, a gentle pulse across her abdomen. Paisley had felt them before, practiced contractions, fleeting and irregular. But this morning was different. The sun had barely climbed above the hills when her body gave the signal. It was time. Savannah rushed in from the garden, dirt still on her hands. "What is it?" Paisley clutched the edge of the table. "They're coming." No panic, no screaming, just quiet understanding between women. Joaquin arrived within minutes. He didn't speak as he helped prepare the room. Sheets were changed, towels boiled. The midwife, an older woman from town named Vera, arrived soon after, nodding calmly like she'd done this 1,000 times. The hours passed. The sun climbed high and then began to fall again. Labor didn't break. It demanded her. 12 hours of breath, pain, stillness, and strength. Savannah held her left hand. Joaquin held her right. When the first cry filled the room, it wasn't weak, it was fierce. A girl. Then minutes later, a second cry followed. Another girl. Paisley sobbed. She couldn't hold them both at once, so Vera laid one across her chest and tucked the other into her arms. Tiny faces, pink cheeks, fingers curled into her collarbone. She kissed their foreheads, whispering their names into the space between them. Amora, Selena. She didn't think about Adrian. She didn't think about Sal Conrado or what she left behind. Only this moment, this breath, these girls. Savannah wiped tears from her own cheeks. Joaquin stood still, one hand on Paisley's shoulder. He didn't say anything right away. He just watched, eyes full of something quiet and steady. Later, after the midwife left and the babies slept in a woven hammock beside the bed, Paisley sat propped up on pillows. Joaquin came in carrying tea. She looked at him. Are you sure about all this? He set the cups down. Sure about what? Me. Them. This life. He walked over and kissed her forehead. I don't see it as a burden, Paisley. Then what do you see? He sat beside her, pulling one of the twins gently into his arms. The baby stirred but didn't cry. I see a woman who didn't fold. I see two girls who were born out of truth, not illusion. And I see a chance for all of us to do things differently. She rested her head against his shoulder. For the first time in months, she didn't feel broken. She felt whole. 6 months later, the mango tree in the backyard stood full and green. It had become their shade, their gathering place, their daily compass. And now, it would become their altar. The sun was high but soft. A string of linen flags fluttered gently from one branch to another. A few wooden chairs lined the garden, borrowed from the church down the road. The soil had been swept. The fountain still didn't work, but it stood cleaned, vines gently, trimmed around its base like a witness. Paisley wore white, not silk, not designer, just a simple flowing dress made by a seamstress in town. It hugged her curves and let the wind pass through. Her hair was pinned back loosely, jasmine woven through it. Joaquin wore linen pants and a loose-fitting white shirt. No tie, no fuss. Savannah stood to one side, holding the twins, each in pale yellow rompers with matching headbands. Amora giggled. Selena drooled onto her shoulder. The few guests present were not there out of obligation. They were neighbors, the midwife, the grocer, and the woman who taught Paisley how to weave mosquito nets using palm fronds. No cameras, no rings with diamonds, no officiant in robes, just love. Joaquin took her hands as a soft hush of wind moved through the trees. Paisley, he began, you didn't arrive in my life as an empty page. You came full of history, full of strength. I never wanted to rewrite your past. I just wanted to be part of your present, and if you'll let me, your future. She smiled through tears. Joaquin, I didn't think love could grow from ruin. But you didn't treat me like something to be fixed. You saw me, and because of that, I found myself. Again. He kissed the back of her hand. Then we begin, not from scratch, but from truth. Savannah stepped forward, handing them 2 clay bracelets she had crafted herself. One for each wrist. No gold, she said, grinning, but this won't break under pressure. The crowd chuckled. Paisley and Joaquin exchanged the bracelets. They kissed, softly, without ceremony, just promise. The mango leaves rustled like applause. Later that evening, after the guests had gone, and the garden had grown quiet, Joaquin carried a sleeping Amora into the house, while Paisley held Selena against her chest. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him, the way he tucked the baby into her crib, checked her temperature with his hand, and kissed her tiny forehead. He turned and caught her gaze. You're next, he said softly. She smiled. I'm always last these days. He walked over, scooped her into his arms. Not tonight. He carried her through the hallway, past the flickering lantern, and into their bedroom, lit, with nothing but candles. And this time, there would be no interruptions. The candlelight flickered softly against the walls. The bed sheets were already turned down, the room faintly scented with lavender and with smoke. Outside, the frogs had begun their nighttime chorus. Paisley stood at the foot of the bed, unbuttoning her dress slowly. Not shyly, not like before. This time, there was no uncertainty. Her body had changed. Cavia, marked by motherhood, her hips fuller, her breasts heavier, her belly softer. But she didn't flinch. She stepped out of the dress and let it fall to the floor. Joaquin sat on the edge of the bed, watching her like a man witnessing something sacred. His eyes didn't roam. They rested on her collarbone, her thighs, her scars, her beauty. "You're staring," she said softly. "I'm grateful," he replied. She crossed the room, one step at a time, until she stood between his knees. He looked up at her. She placed her hands on his shoulders and pushed him gently back onto the mattress. Then she climbed on top. The linen sheets rustled beneath her knees. His hands slid along her thighs, but she took his wrists and pinned them down beside him. "I want this to be mine," she whispered. He nodded once, and so it was. She moved over him slowly, learning his rhythm, then setting her own, her palms pressed into his chest, her breath hitching as pleasure built with every steady movement. He watched her, not with hunger, but with awe. She rolled her hips, head tilting back as the pressure deepened, her breath coming faster. Her moans spilled out in quiet waves, not forced, but full. He reached up and cupped her face. "You're unbelievable." She leaned down and kissed him, still moving. Her body trembled above him, her thighs tightening, her core pulsing with heat. The pressure built slowly, no rush, no urgency, just steady surrender. She gasped as a release swept through her, full-bodied, intense, complete. Her back arched, hands gripping his forearms as a broken cry tore from her lips. He held her tightly as she collapsed into his chest, both of them breathless. Minutes passed in silence. Finally, she spoke. "I used to think my body was the price of someone else's pleasure." Joaquin stroked her hair gently. "And now," she lifted her head, eyes soft but clear. "Now it's mine." He pulled her closer, wrapping both arms around her. "Always has been." They lay there for a long time, skin against skin, without speaking. In that stillness, something settled. She hadn't just been touched. She had been honored, and as she drifted off to sleep, curled against a man who never asked her to be anything. But honest, Paisley knew she hadn't found rescue. She had reclaimed power. She wasn't starting over. She had arrived. Thank you for spending this precious moment with us here at Cedar Light Love Stories. If today's story touched your heart, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a new tale of love and light. Share this video with someone special, and let's keep spreading stories that inspire, heal, and connect us all. Until next time, stay blessed and keep love shining.